wide and let's go spinning.
Please tell me a bit about your background, birthplace, upbringing, school, training, passion.
Okay, so I started dance when I was 8 years old, and I started at a little neighborhood school and started once a week and loved it. And I did that for most of my childhood. And I decided to move on, and I auditioned for a professional training school, and I was accepted into the release time program. So I was able to do ballet every day and just go to school in the morning. And I did that for many years, and my passion was to be a ballerina at that time. And when I graduated high school, I decided I'm gonna go to college. I was accepted into the dance program and opened my world of dance in a whole different direction and was exposed to modern dance. And then I was offered classes in improv and choreography and classes on how to teach kids dance. So I did that. I graduated with a BA in dance and then go to the next step of my dance. And I auditioned for Martha Graham and Alvin Ailey programs in New York City, and I was offered a scholarship, and so I packed my bags and put $500 in my pocket and I moved to New York City. I grew up in Maryland and then moved to New York City. So I trained in New York City for many years and performed some, but always felt connected to teaching kids. So I worked in a lot of schools and all the big dance studios, and I helped develop programs for programs that didn't really have young kids at the time. And I did that for many years in New York, and I loved it all. And I decided I wanted to go back to school, so I went to Columbia. I got my master's in dance education from Columbia, and taught me more about working with kids and opened my eyes to more ways of reaching kids in dance and creative experiences. So I then took a full-time teaching position at a private school in New York City, and I enjoyed that greatly. And then it came to a point where I felt like it was time to head out of the city. And I came this way and thought that I would move to Philly. And then I came through Morristown, and I decided maybe it was time to have a whole different environment. So I came to Morristown, and my intention was to work with more kids and share all that I've learned and experienced and developed and worked on in the city with a different community that didn't have all those opportunities. So when I came to Morristown, I found that a lot of people didn't really know about what I did. So I had to kind of pave my own way to move forward in that. I encountered a lot of people that weren't really quite sure what creative dance was, and lots of people were interested in having hip hop for 3-year-olds, and that really wasn't my training or my background or my education, and I just felt like I had this whole basket of information and experience to share with kids. And it was a bit of maneuvering to get through to the community and be able to share what I wanted to bring to the community. So I started working in the preschools around the community. I worked in the rec department. I worked in some of the arts organizations, and I really tried to spread all of that I brought from the city to this smaller community. And I did that for several years until we found this beautiful home for the dance lab. I really wanted to make this space welcoming and inviting and magical for kids to come to. I find it highly rewarding to be witness to their self-realization and their self-discoveries through dance and moving. And so with the Dance Lab, I created a program that is more process oriented. So it's not really dance as a performing art so much as more of an expressive arts. So we really value each child's experience each and every time they come to the studio. So what I find in working with this child-centered approach and more process-oriented, that kids really are so amazing to let go and find their own way through the arts and find their own voice in the way that we structure the classes. Helps them connect to who they are as little people, and then older kids as well. And it really gives them a lot of confidence to have this space to feel safe and creative, and great things come from that. So I feel blessed every day to come to work and get to witness all of that. The time spent in the studio is complete contact, people-to-people contact. And so we also spend time within our classes to take turns and share and watch and talk. And we'll ask, what did you see when this dancer showed her dance? We use literacy, descriptive words and action words, and we really encourage kids to interact within the class, which nowadays some kids are a little apprehensive of that because they're very used to having their devices with them. So we don't utilize any of that, and we really try to interact and share and express ourselves towards other friends in a positive, creative manner, and learn about ourselves and each other in that kind of way. Kids are allowed to feel comfortable to be creative and to be themselves. And we embrace all children at the Dance Lab. I've worked with many varieties of special needs, kids that are super shy, kids that are super smart, kids that may have some delays, but they're encouraged to all come in and be themselves. It's okay if they have big energy. It's okay if they don't want to talk. It's okay if they feel a little shy or excited about something that day. And we really try to include their whole being, even though it's a dance class or maybe an art class or a yoga class. So I think that they benefit from having a space that they can feel safe and open up and be creative, and they get to learn about themselves because we give them chances to express themselves through movement or art or yoga or whatever we're having that day. And it's okay to express themselves, and there's no wrong answers, and as long as they're willing and open to try things, then we really embrace that, and each kid being individual. So I think that they take away that, you know, they're a pretty good kid, and they can have a thought, and they can think and move or think and create, and those are important things to us to share. And it's safe to say what your thought is, or maybe you have a different idea, and maybe we can shift the lesson plan that day and go with that idea. And so I think it gives children a voice to be allowed to be creative and be themselves. So you will rarely find a class at the studio where we line children up side by side and try to teach everybody the same step, and then try to achieve that same step so that we're all identical, which there is value in that, and many programs offer that, but that is not our program. So what we offer is structures. I design a lesson plan. If you come and see, you might wonder if I have a lesson plan because it might take a left turn or a right turn, but there is always a goal and an objective for the lesson. And then I will start with some prompts for the kids, maybe to start thinking of different ways of moving, or we might work on different spatial or dynamic energy or tempo. And I will always have that goal in my mind, but I will also allow myself to be open to follow their energy. So sometimes the energy goes in a different direction than I originally planned, but I'm always mindful of what I have planned for the day and try to somehow lace it back to that. To see on a daily basis kids smiling and saying they loved it and they were happy, and in those moments they have joy and they feel connected to themselves, who they are as people. When I was in graduate school, my thesis was on connecting dance and literacy. So at the dance lab, you'll see a lot of intersecting between dance and literacy. Even in the youngest classes and the older classes, in the art classes, the yoga classes, we'll utilize a lot of literacy. So we might utilize children's books or just literacy components, making letter with our bodies or writing out sentences to create a movement. We also have a story makers class, so that's creative writing and connecting to dance. So I find that also connects to the children, to what they are asked of at school with literacy and learning that way, but in a creative way. So we kind of seep that in, and that really is something that's dear to me, connecting the dance and literacy and then the arts and literacy, and that makes me really happy.
Remember when your time was gold, when you still were known. It was the firelight kept you from the field, silence brought you near. As it was, don't leave. December kept you from the cold, happy to grow old. It was the firelight kept you from within. The urge were